move on to the governor's state of the state. So good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's presentation on the Round 2 VNCP grant opportunity. My name is Sarah Antonacci, and I'm an Assistant Director of Grants Administration at the Dormitory Authority of the State of New York, or DASNY for short. DASNY will be administering this grant program on behalf of the New York State Department of Veterans Services, or New York State DVS, or periodically I will just shorten it to DVS. With me on today's call is Jonathan Fishbein, General Counsel to New York State DVS, as well as others from DVS and DASNY. DASNY staff will be providing technical assistance as it relates to today's call. And I'm going to pass this to John, who will be going over some of the features of the interface with you right now. Thanks, John. Good morning.
You got it. Good morning, everybody. My name's John Quinlan. I work in the Office of External Relations. I'm the Manager of Communications and Marketing. Welcome. Just want to let you know that this is going to be recorded, and following the session, we will upload it to YouTube, and Sarah will be uploading that to the portal so that you can all access the recording and any questions that were asked. If you do have questions during, please use the chat function. And Karen and Sarah and Jonathan will be able to see those questions coming in and do their best to address them all as they receive them. And that's about it. Welcome, and I'll pass it back to you, Sarah.
Okay, thanks, John. And this will be uploaded to the DVS website for anyone who would like to repeatedly watch it. And if you know of anybody who is going to apply, they can also be referred to that website. So while we will, as John said, if you want to ask some questions in the chat function, while we will attempt to answer some of the general questions on this call, this is an open procurement, so any specific questions will have to be deferred to the Q&A time frame, which we'll go over in this presentation. But because it's an open procurement, we want to make sure that the responses to those specific questions are disseminated to everyone that is potentially going to apply. And again, specific questions can be directed to the VNCP at dasny.org email address. That email is being monitored every single day and throughout the day. So today's objective is to provide veterans organizations guidance on how to apply for Round 2 VNCP funding and what the process will be prior to awards being made for Round 2. I think you're all going to be very happy with the fact that we will not have you upload applications into the grants management portal this time. So we'll get into that a little bit too. So before we get started, I also see that there's some Round 1 awardees on the call today. So as a reminder, the Round 1 awardees will not be able to apply for Round 2 unless they withdraw from Round 1 or they fully expend their Round 1 award and submit an application in a timely fashion by April 19th. I just wanted, that way, anybody on this call from Round 1, if you want to proceed, great. And if you want to hop off, you can hop off now. I just wanted to make sure that the Round 1 awardees were aware of that right off the get-go. So how does a veterans organization actually locate the request for grant applications? Well, we've provided some guidance previously, but here it is on this slide. You're going to go to the grants management website. The link is right here on the slide. And you're in this web page, you're going to see a find opportunity selection. That find opportunity selection will actually go to a page that will look familiar, similar to this here on the screen. And then you're going to select the search. And that's going to open up this screen here where you can actually search for the grant opportunity. The best way to search for that opportunity is to type into this search by grant opportunity field the acronym for the Veterans Nonprofit Capital Program, which is VNCP. When you do that and you hit search, you're going to see the results screen come up, and one is going to be closed, as you can see from the status, and one is going to be available. Now you can also do a search VNCP and then search status by available only, and then this top search result will drop off. But if you just do VNCP, these two will show up. This first one closed is round one. Round one has been awarded, and awards are in process. And that's why I mentioned to anyone on this call that if they are from round one, you are unable to apply for round two unless you've withdrawn from round one, or you've actually expended all of your funds and you're able to meet the April 19th deadline. Okay, so when the result page comes up, and whether it's one result or two, you're going to select the open available grant opportunity by clicking on the link VNCP right here in blue, and it's going to upload the grant opportunity portal, grant opportunity profile in a new page. This is going to give you a great deal of information, including this Zoom call, the question and answer time frame, but most importantly, you can actually open the grant opportunity here. It is only the RGA. You're not going to see a template on this screen for a type-in version of the application. So my recommendation is that you actually go to the Department of Veterans Services website. That will give you all of the information in regards to this RGA. The RGA also has a number of different exhibits and appendices, one exhibit and a number of appendices, so that you can read through the frequently asked questions are in the RGA, the scoring. There's a number of documents in the RGA that's going to provide you with a wealth of information, from key dates to the type of organizations that are eligible to apply, feasible projects, the criteria. Anything that's required to be uploaded with the application is going to be outlined in the RGA. Okay, it's highly recommended that you all read through the entire documentation of that RGA, the RGA, all of the attachments, and then February 16th is our next event, and that is to have specific questions submitted so that we can post responses to the Veterans website by no earlier than March 1st of 2024. Again, and nothing is going to be posted to the grants management portal. It's all going to be done on the New York State DVS website. This includes on their website a fillable application. So if we'll get into that in a minute, but if you don't want to actually print and handwrite a application, you can actually download a fillable application, complete it, attach, save it, because we don't want you to lose any data, and then create your file that you're going to submit in April on your computer. So we'll get into that a little bit more in a moment. Again, the key dates are noted on this slide. Again, the February 16th 2024 deadline. And again, many of the questions can be answered by reading through those materials. So I highly recommend that you do that before submitting questions by February 16th. The March 1st, 2024 document will be in PDF and it will be available to all. We'll make sure that A notification goes out when the responses are posted to the DVS website. And on April 19th is when the applications are due, and they are due. You have to send in your application to VNCP at dasney.org this year. And we'll touch on that a little bit in a moment as well. So as a reminder, before submitting that application to VNCP at dasney.org, your document vaults or soon to be pre-qualification application. And again, we're going to go into this a little bit in a moment, but as you may or may not know, the grants management system or the document vault process is being converted to the state financial system, or SFS for short. And again, that has to be done prior to submitting an application. We allowed that to go through the last time, as long as you applied by the or did a document vault and had a document vault pre-qualified by the application due date. We let that slide the last time. I'm not so sure we're going to be as generous this time. So make sure that that document vault is pre-qualified by April 19th. And again, during the pre-qualification process, you must check your spam or junk folder to see if there were any kickbacks from the pre-qualifying agency. It's not a one and done process. You'll submit that document vault to your pre-qualifying agency that you've selected. They will review all of your responses and the documents you've uploaded, but if they need more, they're going to send that document vault back to you for resubmission. So again, I believe the new system is going to work the same way, that you will be notified that a modification is needed. And then you'll have this back and forth with a pre-qualifying agency until such time you're pre-qualified. So where can a veterans organization find the VNCP application? So the round 2 VNCP application, which looks like this on your screen, can be located on the VNCP DVS website. So this is a link in the document resource area. It's called VNCP Round 2 Fillable Application. You can download it. It will look like this, and you can type in all of your information. This is the preferred method of submitting an application, only because when you do, which is the second option of printing the exhibit from the RGA in handwriting, your information, it's not always easy to read somebody else's handwriting, right? So we want to make sure that your information is understandable. So I highly recommend that you print or again, you use this fillable application. If you use the fillable application, there is this disclosure if you're signing electronically that you are signing, such as signing pen to paper. So it is still a legal document. So make sure that you are having an authorized officer actually execute that document on behalf of the veterans organization. Again, before submitting the entire package to the VNCP coordinator, you'll want to double check all of this information. All of the questions have been answered. You've attached all of the necessary attachments, site control documentation, estimates, funding sources. If you're fully funding the project with the VNCP grant, obviously you'll have no attachments other than the estimate. Okay, so again, it will be required for every applicant to complete and return round 2 VNCP application. If you're unsure if you qualify to apply, if they have the proper documentation necessary to upload the grants management document vault, if they can meet the requirements outlined in round 2, we recommend that you reach out to your financial team or your legal team to make sure that they are providing guidance, as DASNY and DVS are not going to be able to advise you because, again, this is an open procurement. And again, as a reminder, definition of an authorized officer is someone who can bind the organization into a contract. Any documents submitted during the procurement, award, review, and reimbursement process is subject to audit, and therefore it is highly recommended that the applicants verify that the authorized officer has the authority to do so. You can do this by, again, talking to your legal team, checking your board minutes, your bylaws. Again, this is not something that DASNY or DVS can provide guidance on. Okay, and then again, you'll be all happy to know that you do not need to upload this to the grants management portal. This is an application and backup documentation that can be submitted via email to VNCP at dasny.org, and you must submit it by close of business on April 19th or before. We are not going to review these ahead of April 19th, so recommendation is to take your time in completing the documentation and double checking your work and verifying that you have everything that you need before submitting it. Because if there are multiple applications, we will only review the first application that is sent in. Now, some people are wondering, well, what if I have difficulties with sending it in as one email, one package? So if you're unable to submit an application package in one email, we just ask that you try to identify that when sending it, that you're sending in, this is email 1 of 2, 1 of 3, 1 of 4. And if you're not sure how many emails that it's going to take to submit the documents, just put this is email 1 and then say this is email 2. But again, if you resubmit that application in subsequent emails, we are only going to look at email 1. Okay, so be sure that your emails are very clear and that you don't have duplicate information in the subsequent emails afterwards. Okay. So once the application deadline passes on April 19th, DVS, with the assistance of DASNY, will download all the applications and documentation that has been submitted. And we will do a eligibility review of each application submitted. So what does that mean? For round 2, VNCP application to move from the eligibility review to the scoring phase, an application must pass all of these questions noted on this slide. And these questions are also noted in Appendix D of the round 2 VNCP RGA. So again, this is, a friendly reminder that a lot of information is in that RGA. So highly recommend you read through that. If there is a fail to any one of these eligibility questions, an application will not move to the scoring phase, and no further reviews of the application will be conducted by New York State DVS or DASNY. The eligibility review will be conducted by reviewing page 1 of the application along with other means like the New York State Department of State to verify some additional information, or through the state financial system, the document vault. We're going to be looking at IRS determination letters and possibly some of your corporate documents that you are going to be uploading into that document vault. So as a reminder, DVS and DASNY will not read the application in its entirety during the eligibility process. Rather, this will occur during the scoring phase. So please do not write "see attached" in the first page of, I'm going to go back here, in this first page, please do not in these grids put "see attached" or "see narrative" or anything like that. We want to be able to look at this first page and make some determinations on whether an applicant moves to that scoring phase. And again, we're going to go over some of these questions. The first one, has a document been pre-qualified in the document vault? Again, we're going to verify that you pre-qualified a document vault, or now soon to be called a pre-qualification application, in SFS. It will be checked, and there is a history there, so we will be able to see if that document vault was actually pre-qualified prior to the submission of the application. Was the entity in existence for at least 5 years? Well, the Department of State will tell us this. Now, with some of the veterans organizations, you may or may not be in the Department of State. So this is where going to your document vault is going to be crucial in looking at your IRS determination letter to see if you're a subordinate under a parent organization. And if so, hopefully you've attached the a letter from the parent organization saying how long you've been in existence, what your FEIN number is, and if there is a subordination page to that IRS determination letter, that's always helpful as well. So the last one is project has an estimated useful life of 10 years or more. This is going to be a preliminary review. Again, a quick review to make sure that it appears that the useful life is going to be 10 years or more. This is a bondability issue. If the useful life is not at a minimum of 10 years, then this could fail after scoring or during scoring. It could fail after awards have been made, during the DASNY review process, and even, later on. So we need to make sure that you take a look at the examples in the RGA, and not all of, there are going to be some projects that are not listed there. I will say that we're not forcing you into the projects that are noted in that appendices, but rather these are just examples of what we would consider a project of at least a 10-year useful life. There are other projects that came through in round one that were not listed, and they made it through. So, but again, they are still under scrutiny in round one to make sure that they have a useful life of 10 years or more. So I just want to make sure that everyone is aware, even though you get through eligibility, there is still some scrutiny being taken on the applications as we work through the process. Okay. So the 3 questions that were in particular of a area where a lot of the round ones applicants failed is the last 3 questions. So we're going to go over those 3 questions right now. So the 2 questions talking about, is the applicant organization incorporated under 26 501c19 or 501c23? If your organization is organized as a 19 or 23, then you may qualify. But again, I'm not going to be able to tell you that or not. You will need to be able to talk to your legal team and have that conversation, or take a chance. You're organized on 19 or 23, and you've entered all of your information, and submit it. Now, you also, though, have to abide by the, Jonathan, jump in if I'm saying this wrong. In addition to 19 or 23, you also have to abide by the membership. And if you are not a 23 or a 19, rather you're a C4, another veterans organization or not-for-profit organized under something other than a 19C or 23, you must meet the requirements of the membership, and more often than not, it's going to be the membership under the 19C requirement. So you could be a C, 5, I'm sorry, a 5, a
A
C4,
C4.
a 501c5 or a C4 with the membership requirements under 19. Correct, Jonathan? Am I stating that properly?
Yes.
Okay.
And you'll touch on the other requirement of the 1880.
Yes, and most organizations will not fall under this membership, because most organizations that are organized outside of 26, I'm sorry, 26 USC 501c19 or 501c23 have not been organized prior to 1880. But if you are, then obviously you would have to meet these membership requirements if you're a 501c4 or something other than a C23 or 19. Good? This was a challenge for me, so I'm relying on Jonathan to be my backup here.
Just to make clear, the if the entity is organized as a C4 or anything other than a 23, they or if it has been if it was organized before 1880, they can use the membership requirements of 501c23. If they were organized 1880 onward, then they have to use the membership of 501c 19. So most everyone is going to if they're going to qualify, will qualify under the C19.
Right. The memberships of C19 if they are not a C19, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And again, if there's any specific questions about these two questions, again, we refer you to your legal team, or you can write us a email to vncp@dasney.org. We'll try to clarify that a little bit more, but thank you, Jonathan, for providing me backup on that. Okay, so last but not least, does the applicant organization have at least 15 active members? Noted on page 1, again, you're going to see this grid on page 1. Again, please, 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 cannot stress enough that you write in your numbers on page 1. We do not want to have to go deep diving into, and we won't. So if your numbers are not on page 1, then you may actually be, you may not pass the eligibility review. So please be sure, yeah, your numbers are here, and there must be a 15 active dues paying members in 2023 in order to pass this question. And again, we highlighted in the application process in the RGA that members that are noted in this grid are dues paying members, returning dues paying members totals. So please, if there's, again, clarification that is needed in regards to what is required in the application, please submit those questions by February 16th. The percent on C is, I'm sorry, the C question underneath this grid, percent of 2023 dues paying members, is on average the active dues paying members that are actively participating in events. So in this example on the screen, we have looked at our dues paying members, and we determined that in our example veterans organization, 48% of the members were due paying members. The numbers up here,
Hold
again.
on. Sarah, hold on.
Yes, yes.
You just said that there 48% are dues paying members. 48% of the dues paying members are actively participating in the
Thank
event.
you.
Just want to
Thank
be
you.
clear on that.
Yes. And then also the numbers up in this grid, DVS will be looking at to make sure that the membership is actually abided by. So I just wanted to state that these numbers are important for verifying this information on the prior two questions. Correct, Jonathan?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate that confirmation. Okay, and applications that do pass all of the eligibility questions will continue to the scoring phase. The VNCP scores will consist of a combination of DASNY and DVS staff, just like round one, and each scorer will score each VNCP application. The score sheet for round two has been provided as Appendix E to the round two VNCP RGA, which again, we also recommend that you review before submitting an application. The points for the different components will be similar to the last round, as you can see, and with the emphasis again being on the project and how the project will be paid for. So again, eligibility of the project is going to be worth 60 points. The financial review is going to be 30 points. So again, I want to reiterate how important it is to have a complete application with all of the appropriate documentation and information in the application when submitting it to VNCP at dasny.org. And that you pay attention to the criteria outlined in Section 7 of the RGA. Those questions, which are comprised of these categories on this slide, are expanded on in Section 7. And this is why we say it's so important to have a robust narrative, because theoretically, you are not going to be able to score a 70 or above unless you have that robust narrative. So please, please, please take a look at the entire package that has been provided to you, and make sure that when you submit your application that you have everything necessary when submitting that application to the NCP at dasny.org. And it will be your responsibility to make sure, and I will do my best to verify that your email has been received by, just saying received, note coming back to you. And again, you'll want to check your email spam or junk folders to make sure that you've gotten that, so you're not calling or writing again saying, hey, did you get this? I will try to notify you that your emails are in receipt at vncp at dasny.org. So once the scoring has concluded, DASNY will provide the results of the scoring phase to DVS, and it will be DVS who will be making the ultimate decision on the awardees. And just like this last time, we will post the awardees and move on to our reviews. Anyone failing will get, both awardees and failures will get an email. Again, you must check your spam or junk folders to make sure you've received those emails. And again, those emails will go to whoever is the contact listed on your application. So make sure that you have a valid name, email, and a contact person that we can reach out to. Okay, moving on to New York State Grants Management. Again, this is a critical piece. You have to have a document vault pre-qualified by the time you submit your application. New York State Grants Management is going through a conversion. The website for Grants Management is here on your screen. They do have conversion information that you can read through. All activities currently being conducted in the New York State Grants Management System will cease actually by close of business tonight. Tomorrow, January 10th, is the beginning of their blackout period, where both the Grants Management System and the state financial system will be closed while they do this conversion. So no document vaults can be opened, modified, anything along those lines. So between January 10th, tomorrow, and January 16th, when they are anticipating on going back live with the state financial system. So you'll have to pre-qualify in the state financial system after January 16th. I can't stress that enough. The document vaults will no longer be available through the grants management system. You will have to have access to the state financial system. All guidance for this conversion is on this website. So DVS is not going to know that. DASNY is referring you to the grants management staff, their website. So please make sure that you are reviewing that information on their website. Any document vault that is pre-qualified by today will remain pre-qualified in the state financial system when go live occurs. If you are not pre-qualified by close of business today, and I just ask for your patience because I know that the pre-qualifying agencies are going to be extremely busy today, and they are going to do their best effort to make sure that you are pre-qualified by close of business, because unfortunately, if you are not pre-qualified by today, you will have to start the process over when they go live in the state financial system. Your documentation will not be converted over between the grants management document vault and the pre-qualification application in the state financial system. Again, in between today with your document vault, if someone needs a modification to your document vault while they're pre-qualifying you today, the pre-qualifying agency will be sending you an email. So please be monitoring your junk and spam folder and your inboxes to make sure that you have no notifications, because if it's just something small, you need to, update and add your amended incorporation papers, and it's something that you have readily available, and you can get this done and out of the way and be totally pre-qualified by close of business today. We want to be sure that you're getting that done, because again, if that's the last thing that you need, then you're done, you're over with, you're pre-qualified in the new system. But if that goes by the wayside and unfortunately you're not pre-qualified by the end of today, then you're going to have to answer all the questions, you're going to have to answer or upload all the documents, et cetera, et cetera. So again, please be sure to monitor your email inboxes. After go live, when SFS goes live, and now you're going to be pre-qualifying in the state financial system, New York State Grants Management is offering some assistance through some webinars, conference calls, whatever it takes to make sure that everyone is situated with a document vault and managing it in the state financial system before your applications are due on April 19th. So please Again, we defer you to the grants management webpage for additional information. Again, it looks like they're providing some calls between Wednesdays between 11 a.m. and noon. Again, that information will be on the grants management website. And as a reminder, all of your corporate documents should have a uniform naming convention for your organization. So if you are registered in the Department of State as XYZ Incorporated, then we expect to see your bylaws, your IRS determination letter, all of these other documents to say XYZ Incorporated. If there is something altering from there, you want to make sure that this is taken care of before that document vault gets uploaded and submitted. And again, I stated this in the beginning of the presentation. If a veterans organization is a subordinate under a parent organization and has not, actually didn't say this, but if you are not in the Department of State, you should take a look at the Department of State guidance, which again is also on that VNCP website on DVS's webpage. That goes over how to file or receive a copy of your certificate of election. That's not going to be for all veterans organizations, only a small few who are under the umbrella of that parent organization. And if anybody, again, has any questions regarding that aspect of whether you have incorporation papers or a certificate of election, please submit your questions to VNCP. We'll do our best to do some clarification. We did have a presentation prior to this one that went over all of that information. But again, we do have an appendix. It's Appendix B in the RGA that you can look at. So it does go over what would constitute a need for a certificate of incorporation or a certificate of election. Hopefully it's clear. If it's not, just again, submit a email to vncp@dasny.org. So to conclude, again, as a reminder, the key dates are noted on the slide. There are some events coming up. These are also listed in the RGA itself. The deadline for questions, again, is February 16th. Any questions that were not answered in this presentation or after reviewing all of the documentation that has been provided to you on the DVS website, please email vncp@dasny.org. That is on here. It's also in the RGA. We will post those responses no earlier than March 1st, 2024. We will provide notification as we did with this Zoom call via email to notify via email that the responses have been posted. I want to thank everyone for joining us. And Karen, Jonathan, do we have any general questions?
There are a number of questions in the chat. I don't know if we can answer them, but some of them might be helpful to be answered. So
okay.
Dasny.
All right, let me scroll up and take a look. So just be patient with us while we're reviewing this. Okay, thank you. Whoever posted the DVS website, there is a link down below in the main page. So it is veterans.ny.gov, but you have to, from the middle of the main web page, there's going to be a Veterans Nonprofit Capital Program little button you can press on that will bring you to the information behind. So, and it's also listed throughout the RGA. So, and the FAQs. Are Veterans Memorial or expenses associated with the Veterans Park eligible for this grant? Unfortunately, we are not going to be able to answer that question on this presentation. You should refer to the guidelines provided as it relates to what constitutes a capital project, the appendix in the RGA, and talk to your financial or legal team as it relates to specific questions relating to eligible entities as well as projects. I apologize, Michael, I'm not going to be able to respond to that. Is this a reimbursable grant? So again, the FAQs will go into whether this is a reimbursable grant. It's a great question. We prefer it to be a reimbursable grant. However, there is a payment on invoice option that is discussed in the frequently asked questions. Some of our veterans organizations do not have the ability to pay out to their contractors in the first instance. So your contractor will have to agree to a 30, 60, 90-day payment. They will have to invoice the veterans organizations for work performed. You will have to set up a segregated account. When you get a grant disbursement agreement, if you're awarded, then the reimbursement exhibits will need to be submitted along with the invoice for work performed by the contractor. The contractor the veterans organization, if everything is in order, accounts payable here at DASNY will make payment to that segregated account, and the segregated account will be used by the veterans organization to make payment to the contractor. That will be the only project, the only money going in and out of that segregated account. So while it is recommended to be a reimbursable grant, we can actually do a payment on invoice. So highly recommend that you read through the FAQs. Is a 501c3 eligible? Again, I defer you to the RGA, your legal team, to make sure that you can apply. Same with municipalities. You have to be a veterans organization under what is outlined in the RGA. If you're unsure, please defer to your legal team. The PowerPoint presentation, both YouTube video and the presentation itself, will be uploaded to the DVS website. Robust narrative, again, you should defer to the RGA and elaborate, right? Robust narrative means elaborate on the questions that are being asked of you in the application and in the criteria. What is the amount of funding available in the stage? Right now, I believe it's outlined in the RGA, and I don't have that at the tip of my tongue, so don't quote me on this, but I believe it's 2.4, 2.5 million. And if anybody withdraws from round one, then that will be added to the pool. So that will be determined as well. But right now it's I think it's 2.4. Again, don't quote me on that. RGA indicates organization cost share will be viewed favorably. I don't think that the RGA actually says that there has to be a split between the VNCP grant and other any cost above a grant. So, you may want to reread that section of the RGA. The VNCP grant can fully fund a project. So if it does go over the grant award, then the entity will have to show how the overage will be paid. So that's how that, if you're referring to the funding arm of the RGA, then again, reread that because it should identify that if your project goes over the grant award, then you'll have to show other funding sources. Again, I can't comment to a project or a eligible organization being eligible. You really need to discuss that with your legal team or your financial individuals. Okay, so once the grant is approved, what is the time frame to complete the work? The RGA, and again on the slide, it says eligible project start and end dates is April 1st, 2024 to April 1st of 2027. Anything prior to April 1st, 2024, if you started design work before April 1st, 2024, we cannot reimburse that. But if your project actually begins, in April of this year, and it concludes in July of this year, then it is still an eligible project. However, again, I want to defer you to the FAQs about this. You want to make sure that you want to hold on to that expenditure until such time you have a grant disbursement agreement in place. We recommend that you not start your project until you've been awarded and you have a grant disbursement agreement, because there is no guarantee of those funds until you actually have a grant disbursement agreement. So please read through those frequently asked questions to go over that in more detail. Can I forward this webinar to our local veterans post? Absolutely. And that's why we emailed the municipalities, is so that they could actually notify their posts. And this webinar, this presentation YouTube video will be uploaded, so they can watch it right through until April 19th. But again, questions and answers are coming up. So if they have any questions about the request for grant applications, they're going to need to submit by February 16th. So you should notify them sooner rather than later. Is a loan from a member acceptable for initial funding of a project? Jonathan,
That's
or
something
Karen,
that they should.
yeah, you really should think about that loan.
That's something, Sarah, let me jump in. That's something
Sure.
that really is an internal matter
Yep.
that they should discuss with their legal counsel
Yep.
or their accountant to find out whether it's appropriate within the system.
Yep.
In addition, there should be no conflict of interest,
Yes.
but they must talk to their legal counsel.
Yes. And if it is a loan from a member, that funding will need to be in the possession of the veterans organization. So again, if the grant is not fully paying for the project and it goes over by 25,000, then the veterans organization is going to have to identify how that $25,000 additional funding is being paid for. And if it's out of the veterans organizations, then somebody is going to have to show proof that that $25,000 is available for this project. Okay, is there any other questions? Is there any financial obligation for a veterans organization applying for the VNCP grant? It depends on what their project is. You really, again, we'll have to read through the RGA. If again, the project exceeds the VNCP grant award, then they will be obligated, yes. Okay, thank you very much for that. Kudos. I'm not sure who that was, but that is much appreciated. At this point, we are going to stop the recording, John, if you could, and we will be posting